Hello, fellow Patriots. This is John Dady, your host for Patriots Unite. And today we have a special guest, Joe Hoft of the Gateway Pundit. And we're just going to hear what Joe has to say. We're going to have some nice conversations about some very serious issues today. How are you doing today, Joe?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, John.
Thanks for being here.
Yep. So, what would you like to talk about? There's a lot going on.
Oh, there's so much to go on. No shortage of what to talk about. I like to talk about election integrity or lack thereof,
Okay.
um, the stuff going on with Hamas.
Hmm.
I mean, just I can talk about anything, but I like to talk with
Yeah.
like yourself, who you're very involved in a lot of different things. So it's
Hmm.
educational for me and for the viewers as well. So
Great.
let's talk about what happened out of Georgia the other day.
Yeah, we can do that. Maybe I should give you a little bit of my background first. Maybe you're familiar. I once worked at the radio station there in St. Louis, by the way.
Mhm.
Um, Real Talk. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's probably how I met some mutual acquaintances.
I'm
The
sure.
So, anyways, I worked for years in the corporate world and ended up at one point in my career, I got this position out of St. Louis where I was flying around the world as an auditor. So I was a CPA, MBA. Ended
Right.
up getting about 10 degrees designations, and that led to a big position over after traveling the world. Really got to see some gorgeous places where this company I was working at was growing, and they wanted somebody to go out there and give feedback on what's going on. And so that's what I did, and really enjoyed it, and did that for a long time, and then took a position overseeing a big block of business, $1 billion, the financial reporting on a $1 billion block of business.
Mhm.
And then after 4 years of doing that, I ended up moving to Hong Kong to oversee an audit team out of Asia Pacific. So anywhere from New Zealand, Australia to India to Japan. And I
It's a big
lived in
territory.
Hong Kong. Yeah, yeah. And it was great too. I got to see the world. It was fantastic and learned a lot and knew a lot by that time too because of my prior experience. So it was really great.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 2020, came back to the states. Excuse me, retired, and that's when I really started writing full time at the Gateway Pundit. My twin brother Jim started that about 2004. I started writing for him in about 2016, and did about a post a day for about 5 years, and then in 2020 when I came back, I started working full time with him, and then we had COVID going on, and then we had the election, and that was just the nightmare that happened for the whole country. I was thinking about the other day some of the things, waking up the next day, and then what's going on with Wisconsin and Michigan? Trump was way ahead. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then we saw what they call the F curves, where all of a sudden the data goes like this, and then it goes up and then over. All of
Yeah.
a sudden
Never happened
Biden's ahead.
before.
Yeah, massive dumps of ballots. And of course, we all thought it was fraud. We looked at it just like that's impossible. At least I did, being a corporate auditor. Never seen anything like that. Of course, there's something wrong, and there was, and but nobody did anything about it. So, we couldn't believe it. We were crushing it. We were getting up to about 5 million hits a day, more than 5 million a day at Gateway Pundit then, because I was just laying it out. I had some other really smart people reach out to me that wanted to stay anonymous, and we just started blasting this thing. It was just absolutely a fraud. And so that's really, really kept me busy for a period of time. Then I moved to St. Louis, worked at that radio station for a year, still wrote at the Gateway Pundit, and then moved back here about a year and a half ago, and back to Florida, and have been writing. I still contribute at the Gateway Pundit, but I started my own website, joehoft.com. And in the meantime, I've also written 3 books on the election steal.
I saw that.
So they're Steele volumes 1, 2, and 3, setting the stage, the impossible occurs, and the cover up. And so put a lot of work into those. They've done really well. I've gotten one of them's been bestsellers like 4 months in a row at Amazon, in at least one category, top bestseller. So that's been good. And I suspect it's probably going to continue to be a pretty good seller over the next year as people are freaked
Well,
about thinking,
hopefully
you know,
before the next year is over with, you can write
yeah.
a fourth book stating fraud uncovered.
Yeah. Right. Well, maybe.
Fraud proven. Well, it's in my mind. We'll talk about it later. It's already been proven
Oh,
multiple ways.
absolutely. Well, that was what I said in my second book at the end of each chapter as I covered different topics, you know. One of them I was reminded of this morning. I had Emerald Robinson. I've got a radio show now in with TNT Radio Live. I had Emerald Robinson on my show, and she brought up this article by General Flynn where he came out with all these statistics on the impossibility
Yeah,
of the
the
results.
odds. Exactly.
And there was a lot of work on that, but I threw a lot of that in my book because it was really good. There were some unique perspectives that he had, and that's really the first step as an auditor. She was mentioning that today. It's just common sense. You just look at the big picture, look for
Exactly.
these anomalies, and
Numbers
then
don't
drill down.
lie. Only people lie.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
and that's it. Well, that's it. We were Emerald and I, you know, I think, you know, the problem really with us conservatives and Christians is that we trust people too much.
yes, we
And
way too much.
yeah, and so these
Benefit.
people are
We should
they're
never do that too.
yeah, these people are, you know, they're not honest, and they will do anything, and they're going to do it again, and we shouldn't trust them. And we see what
No,
they do when they take power. They open up the border. It's the destruction of America. Is what's going on right now.
destruction not only of America but of the Western world.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
they literally lit a match on
Hmm.
half the planet, and
Yeah.
our people are fine with it. I don't know what if you've ever talked to Drew about me, but I renamed a Democrat Party several years ago to a specific name that they earn, and they keep earning it more and more every day. I refer to them as the Democrat Party
Yeah.
because they are demons. You must be a demon to support anyone who supports killing unborn babies. Now, in some
Yeah.
cases, after they're born, you're a demon if you support that, or you send money to that person. Now, if you have any affiliation with that organization, you're a demon. There's no argument with that. If you support butchering Johnny and Janie, you're a demon. There's
Hmm.
no you can't run from that. You've earned that title. You're a demon. You're a Democrat. And now they're showing more of the true colors with so many of them supporting Hamas, which
Yeah.
one of the Hebrews definitions of Hamas is demon possession.
Hmm.
So again, they are evil. They support evil, and every one of these people over here on student visas, protesting on behalf of Hamas, they need to
Mm.
have their visas yanked and their ass put on the first rowboat back home, wherever that may be. The
Sure.
universities and colleges who've been allowing this and promoting this, any federal funding they've been getting needs to be gone. It's over. You get no
Mm.
more money from us. And you have to go after these institutions who are allowing this democrat hatred to exist on their campus, because that's what it is hatred.
Yeah.
And promoting through their courses communism. I believe in free speech, but at some point in time, when you're indoctrinating masses of people for 3 generations now that we're evil and evil is good, you know how it is, good is bad, bad is
Yeah.
good, and doing that, you have to put a stop to them. You
Yeah.
can't keep funding your own destruction. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but I'm hardcore about this stuff. Pull the money. Money talks, everything else is bullshit.
Mm.
You and I both know that. And you can say that on the show. You don't have to say yes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's good to know. And
I know the
it's
other day when you were talking with Drew, you were like, I just want to say it so bad.
yeah. Yeah, Dan, I forced Dan to run in the back room, I guess, to
Did
block
you?
it, cover it up.
Yeah, I had
I've
to
done
hit
that a
the,
couple times.
yeah.
Whoop, gets up and runs. The yeah, so yeah, there's a lot going on. You're right. This world's upside down. The I think there's a darkness over this country and world right now, and we just got to pray our way out of it and work our way out of it. We got to be
You're
got
right.
to
We've
be.
been in a spiritual war for decades. People just haven't known it. If
Mm,
how can it be more obvious? I mean, the Satan has to show up and on the White House lawn today and say, "Hey, I'm here." It's real. I mean, it is so obvious we're in a spiritual war that you have to have a serious degree of denial to say that we're not, and we have to first understand and accept what we're in. We're not in just war of flesh, but we're in a spiritual war. This whole thing, and I
Yeah.
come at most of this stuff from a spiritual point of view because that's how I am. And pray to God, get on your knees, pray to God, ask Him for help, get off your knees, and put on that armor of God and go start fighting Satan.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you see it all the time. I see it every day. And I said, well, John, we can't win. Jesus wins in the end. I said, true, He does. We don't know when that is.
Mm.
And in the interim, I think it might make Him pretty happy to see us standing in the breach against our common enemy, sitting
Mm.
back and saying we're not going to do anything because we don't have
Hmm.
to, because God saves us, which is our attitude. I don't think is a winning attitude. I
Yeah.
really
Well, yeah, you're right. Let me read this text that Emerald sent me after our show today.
okay.
It's about a guy by the name of Brian Sauve, I believe. It's a short little message here. It's a tweet, so it's not too long, but
Go for it. We got
I'll
plenty of
read
time.
it here. I think it fits perfect with what you're saying.
Okay.
One of the silent flags destroying churches today is simple cowardice.
Yep.
Cowardice prevents Christians from having hard conversations with others with whom they find fault. Cowardice therefore creates gossips who love to whisper their brother's faults to everyone except their brother. Cowardice keeps pastors from confronting the most pressing sins in the congregation, knowing the cost will be high to do so. Cowardice extinguishes evangelistic fervor. A Christian who fears his neighbor won't bear witness to Christ to his neighbor. Cowardice keeps men from leading in their homes. Cowardice comforts the theoretician who loves to play games with his favorite doctrines while neglecting to defend those doctrines which are most under attack in the present age. Cowardice will keep you from having that hard conversation, from facing your own sin, and from 10,000 other needful things. Don't be a coward, be a Christian.
That's right.
And and then it says, fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. From Isaiah 41:10.
Yeah.
Pretty important piece, because I was mentioning to her, I've heard from Archbishop Vigano. He's over in Italy. He's done amazing work and writings that are just really spot on about the Catholic Church today, about this Pope who's illegitimate,
Oh yeah.
about COVID, about the World Economic Forum. He's spot on with everything. He's a Trump supporter, big time. He can see, just the guy's just spot on. And he recently said to me, he says in a piece he sent me, and I'll put up at the Gateway Pundit or my site, joehoft.com. And he says, it's time to raise our fists.
Yes, it
That's where
is.
we're at. And you know what? But the Christian doesn't think that's the right thing to do. And we need somebody to say, a leader to say, it's okay. When
Well,
these
find
evil
that
people
leader.
are doing what they're doing, yeah, it's time to
And
stand up.
I've been trying to find those leaders with my little bitty tiny voice. And, when I had my show down there for a while, and I've been becoming more politically active because now I'm free to do so. And I've met some very important state leaders, and I've given them call to actions, which is several bullet points on things that they need to be doing to bring the people into the battle. Because right now, our people are sitting on the sidelines, not even on what to do or how to do it, or if they can do anything.
Yeah. But they
Leaders,
want to do something.
a
They
lot of
want to
them
do something.
they do. When I ran for office last year, I talked to thousands of people, and they all want to do something, but they don't know how or what to
Yeah.
do. That's what the first
Right.
thing to do is stop voting
Right.
for rhinos. That's job number one. And then I would talk to them and say, we can organize, not just small, but statewide, nationwide. And because we are a constitutional republic, which means we give our vote to consent to the people we vote for to govern us. That consent can be withdrawn at any time. They don't know this. They don't understand that we literally have the ruby red slippers. It's called our Constitution. And there's nobody out there telling the people, hey, look, you got the ruby red slippers. Here's how you use them. Here's what we need to do to start using those ruby red slippers, just like the good witch told Dorothy how to use them, because Dorothy didn't know, right?
Mm.
We know we have the power. And then I'm talking to these people in all kinds of age groups. Joe, nobody knew. Thousands of people I talked to about this last year during the campaign. Nobody knew what I just told you. And they
Mm.
said, well, I thought it was the other way around. I thought they had all the authority over us. So, no. I mean, Thank our communist school districts for the last 40 years of rewriting history, not teaching history. A little fact: there's 17 states left in this country that requires civics tests to be passed before you can get your diploma. Did you know that? There's 17 states left.
No.
Missouri's one of them. Out of those 17 states, it's like 16 of those states, Joe, are reliably red states.
Yeah.
So what's the proof? What's the anecdotal proof there? When you teach the truth, when you teach civics, your state level and constitutional level, you don't vote for Democrats. You just don't do it. 17 states have it,
Yeah.
and they don't vote for Democrats.
Yeah. I've
Red
heard the
states.
same thing about flags. That's why they don't like flags at parades, the Democrats, because people that see the flag, there's a connection to the Republican Party.
Yeah, it's a connection to freedom, patriotism, Christianity. That's why you don't see that at Democrat events. I'm just waiting for them to bring out a photograph of Morlock. I mean, I'm thinking that's
Yeah.
probably next. So now I want to hit something. There's something because I research,
Mm-hmm.
and I've done that since I was a child. Because I like to know things and I like to kind of know what's going on in my surroundings. And then I try to find people to share it with, right? Well, on this whole election integrity, during the summer of 2020, when these states were changing their election laws for mail-in balloting, right? I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That doesn't seem right. And Trump he was right about this as well. That is going to set up fraud. If you go back and pull up some video of Chuck Schumer from years ago on the Senate floor railing against mail-in voting,
Mm-hmm.
because that is the perfect way to commit fraud.
Right.
All true. However, upon my research, I stumbled across, I just Googled in why is election day held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November? Do you want to know why? There's actually a federal law requiring, and that's the day, one day to vote for federal elections. Only one day by federal law. If you're voting on any other day other than that date, those votes are not legal. You're voting against federal law. The federal government can control how federal elections are operated within the states. The Constitution gives them the authority to do that. In 1845, Congress said, okay, we got to stop having 34 days for elections because that's how long our elections lasted. 34 days within the first Wednesday of December, you could vote. Your states could vote. So as communications were getting better and faster, you see that was causing a problem for the states that voted later. It was literally voter interference, election interference. So Congress decided, we're going to put this on one day. We're going to put a stop to this. So they did it. So when these states are mailing out ballots and you're voting on any day other than the legal date, those votes are not legal.
Mm-hmm.
Trump campaign doesn't know about this because Trump has been out on talking to people and he said, when I'm back in the White House, we're going to pass legislation for one day to vote only. So we have it. It needs to be amended. That law needs to be amended, which is 2 U.S.C. Section 7. It's really short, easy to read, to include paper ballots only and hand counting only. Oh, and third thing, and at precinct level only. This getting all your votes together and sending them off to a counting center. Really?
Yeah.
Where's the chain of custody on all of this stuff? Well, there isn't any. So we are holding our elections illegally. They're going to do it again next year because nobody knows about the damn federal law. I can't tell you.
Well, it's more than that, John. It's more than that. It's not being. People might know, but it's not being enforced. We had numerous cases. This was in my third book. We had numerous cases that were great cases that went in front of the courts, and they didn't hear a number of them for standing. And then the left says we lost them all. That's a lie. We lost. We didn't. Of the ones that were heard, we won like 75%. So they're liars. They lie about everything. Of the other ones, they were thrown out for standing, which I believe was a sham. And I've talked to a number of professionals. I had this lady on my show last Thursday on Thanksgiving. She's from Italy. She's brilliant. She's a young entrepreneur. She's done really well. And she talked about the elections in Italy. You walk in, you got a little pamphlet. You hand it to the people with your ID. They check it to the voter roll. You go, you get a ballot. You go vote. You come back, fold it, put it in a box. They give you back your pamphlet, which they stamp, which shows that you voted. Every time you vote, it's stamped in this little booklet, and they give her back her ID and she leaves. It takes me a minute, she says. Now, no other day to vote. It's one day. You got to do it in person. You got to bring your ID and your little booklet, and you better be registered or you're not going to vote. The only exception is the military, and they get absentee ballots, and that's it. And they're done by 10 o'clock at night. Everybody knows who won the election. So, and at local precincts, local schools. So it's pretty amazing, how simple it is around the rest of the world. But we've had these people bastardize our elections and try to train us into believing this is normal. It's not normal. No. And but then after the 2020 election, and I wrote about this in my third book on the cover up, what I found is, as I look back, first of all, law enforcement wasn't there. Ultimately, it led up to Bill Barr, who totally was shutting stuff down.
Yes, he was.
Second of all, we had Rudy tried to go to the legislatures, Rudy Giuliani, and he had great cases. He had 1,000 affidavits in total, more than 1,000. He's told me this. He actually shared that when he went to every one of these states that was so-called Republican legislatures, there was 2 or 3 people in every legislature that weren't going to do a damn thing. And the margins were so slim that therefore nothing was going to get done. So he had great cases and all sorts of evidence. There should have been something done. The legislatures bailed on us with crooked Republicans, right? The third piece then was the courts. And Sidney Powell had 4 great cases, all sorts of information. There was nothing wrong with their cases. I've talked to some polished attorneys that say, even if you'd have something in your case that perhaps was questionable, you take that out. In your case, you throw everything in there that you believe is accurate. And if there's something wrong, you take it out. She had more than ample evidence that these elections never should have been certified. And yet the courts, her 4 cases in the 4 big swing states, a Bush judge was the first one to throw it out, didn't even hear it. And then you had 3 Obama judges, and they all didn't even look at it, and they threw it out. And they had their response the next day, this 20-some pages. They clearly didn't write it. They don't even have the ability, I don't believe, to do that.
Probably
and
not.
They threw these cases out. And so our last chance then was January 6th, and we saw that was an op, I believe, by our federal government. And it's scary how really bad these people are. And but that was it. So here's what I tell people that we're going to sue and we're going to get this done. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen.
We can sue the states for holding their federal elections illegally. That we can do. That
we can try.
I know of. I've asked them.
We can. You're right. We can sue whatever we want, but we're not going to get
for holding their. Anybody can do that. In other words, we could have any attorney general of a red state who are themselves holding their elections legally or will hold the next one legally. They could sue any state, the way I understand how things work, for holding their elections illegally because that disenfranchises their legal votes. So under federal election law, they could sue those other states. They don't have to go to the federal government to do that.
Well, good luck.
We need courage.
Good luck.
Like we said earlier, we need people with courage to lead to do these things.
Yeah. Right? Well, we need judges with courage that are going to hear these things and that aren't so scared. I mean, I talked to some people. It's like the Supreme Court had this girl the other day. That's what I was going to mention that I talked to on Thursday from Italy. She said, "Well, your Supreme Court, they need to be held accountable. They turned this stuff down. They had every right." She says, in a country where you have no justice system, it basically things blow up. And that's where we're at right now. We have no justice system. And they had a duty to hear that. She goes, they need to be held responsible. They need to be told, you guys are responsible for these deaths in Ukraine, thousands and thousands of deaths. You guys are responsible for the 13 dead Americans from Afghanistan and that 80 billion given to the Taliban. You guys are responsible for giving 10 more billion to Iran this past week.
Every one of them.
You are responsible for this massive spending and the economy with inflation going out of this world. And you're responsible for this border that's open, that we're letting 13 million people in now. We don't even know how many are even terrorists. So she's right. These judges need to be held accountable. They failed us.
They did.
They big time.
And they were constantly, they were hearing the echoes of the 2000 election. And that scared these children that we call Supreme Court justices. Again, without courage and without implementing courage, nothing's going to get done. So that's the theme of most of what I talk about is you can know X, Y, and Z, but to act on it, which takes courage.
Well, that's it.
You're just, what good are you?
Yeah.
So can the red states attorney generals go after and sue the states who are holding their elections illegally, because it literally is voter disenfranchisement for the rest of us? And yes, we would have standing because the results of that election affects all of us. All I need is a couple attorney generals to do that. I can't fight one. You got to fight back. You got to start hitting them. You got to take their knees out from under them. And yeah, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. But I know the Democrats well enough to know that they respect us not at all. You want to know why? And I used to go to their committee meetings when I was a young man to understand where they're coming from. Wasn't easy. I was raised by them. Then, okay, I'm going to go to the committee meetings and see what they're batshit crazy. Always have been. They know that we're afraid of them. They know that we will not stand up to them. They laugh about it. I've been to dozens and dozens of their meetings. Finally, I just quit going. It's like, first of all, it just felt like, it was filthy the way they were talking, the way they were thinking. Right. They were talking about transgenderism 40 years ago, for the love of God, and gay marriage back in the 80s. And they were already well underway of taking over the education system. They were well underway of taking over the courts. And the media was their next target. This was in the 80s when I would go to their damn committee meetings. And I would meet with these people. They didn't know I wasn't one of them. I'm in there doing recon on my enemy. And I've talked to dozens of people who are in politics or wannabes. Says, how many Democrat meetings have you ever been to? Well, none. Why not? Well, I know all I need to know. No, you don't know all you need to know. You need to go in and break bread with these people in their own lair. And you'll understand that, well, it's evil. They've always been evil. They've always loved the butchering of children. They butcher their own. Think about this. Most people who get an abortion are Democrats. So they're killing future Democrat voters. They don't even think that far ahead on it. They don't care because it's all about murder. They're not nice people, Joe. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
And when you go in and you sit in their own committee meetings and you listen to them and you do this for years, no, they're evil. They're Democrats. And we got to stop them. And we don't stop them by defending ourselves against their narratives. We must create our own narratives. In my mind, we create our narratives by we start going on the offensive. Win or lose, here's the thing about the demons. They don't expect us to hit them back.
Right.
They're like the bully. Okay.
The first guy to do that was Trump, and they hate him.
That's right.
They hate him for it. Yeah.
So what I want our people to do, and people with great big voices, is I call the show Patriots Unite for a reason. We need to unite, not just and go to a rally and have our flags waving. When we have our rallies, we need to have speakers there who have some courage. Says, this is what we're going to do with this group and this group. We need a national. I would love Trump to give a national call to action. There's multiple things he can do. It's not doing it. And the other thing, then I'll let you talk because I'm going off on a rant here. But we always had a rant on the show every Sunday, so this is mine. So we have got to have people participate in our government. They need to be brought and shown how to do it. They have to be led on how to do it by somebody with courage and leadership abilities. And then once they're taught, this is this power that you have these ruby red slippers, this is how we're going to use it. And we're going to unite, and we're going to start fighting back against Satan's people, the Democrat Party. We don't have anybody doing that. No one is doing that. And I've asked people all the time, if you know somebody, please tell me. I want to follow that him or her, whoever this is. Okay. So you got to have the courage to lead. And Trump is leading, but I've heard this since I was about 17 years old from senators, congressmen, you name it. John, the people are smart. They'll figure it out. Really? Are they? See, that's your excuse. That comment right there absolves our so-called leaders from actually doing anything, from being a leader. I don't need to do anything, John, because hey, the people are smart. They'll figure it out. No, they're not. No, they can't. Because what do they need at this point in time? It should all be painfully obvious what is going on. Yet we're silent. And our side says, well, we're the silent conservative, the silent majority. Really? You know what silence means, people? Consent. Silence means consent. So you're consenting what's being done to you because you get your mouth shut and then you beat your chest and say, hey, I'm part of the silent majority. Stop being silent, people. Unite. I mean, we formed the Tea Party in late 2008, 2009 online. Did you know that? Online, out of a chat room group. Is how I was there. I was part of it. And we built that thing so fast. It was fun. It was a great ride until we got our audits. I got mine. It was bullshit. I beat it. But it scared that whole movement. You really don't hear anything out of them anymore, do you? That was a huge chilling effect that is still alive and well to this day. People remember that. January 6th was another big example of a chilling effect. We let them do it. So if and until the people stand up, say the prayers of God, get off their knees, put on their armor of God, and start fighting back. And I don't mean with guns and bullets. We don't need to do that at this point in time. Use our authority over our government. It's like, think about this. If 10 million patriots tomorrow stop sending their $150 a month check to cable and satellites and Disney Plus and all those twisted places, wow, we kind of bankrupt them in a hurry. We put a world of hurt on them, wouldn't we? So we're going to stop sending your money. And here's why. Okay. You are the purveyors of lies and disinformation, not only in this country, but around the world. We are not going to fund you anymore. We can do that. Maybe Trump should start some rhetoric like, hey, you know what? I get back in the White House, I'm going to have my FCC secretary review every broadcast license of every affiliate station in the country for violations of said license to broadcast. Joe, you and I know 99% of them are violating that license to broadcast. Pull them. You have 30 days to rectify your wrongs, or we're going to pull your license and we're going to auction it off to the next people, which we have the authority to do. Now, the next people aren't going to spend billions of dollars to get those licenses and make the same mistakes. Now, are they? No. This is what fighting back looks like. We start taking control of the narrative. The left, the Democrats can't handle that. They're not used to taking punches. We need to start throwing those punches. Trump needs to start doing that. If I had him on my show, I'd say the same thing. More rhetoric, step it up, stuff that you can legitimately do, like with the FCC licenses. Encourage your followers to stop sending your money to these places. Like, you have 30 days to do it, because that way they really feel the hurt. See what I'm saying? A coordinated target events against the Democrat Party. If we will not and refuse to do that, if we cannot have leaders bring our people up and say, okay, this is how we fight, I'm going to teach you how to do it, we're done.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. Well, John, I've got to run now. I've got another meeting coming up, but thank you so much for having me. Well, God bless you. Stay warm up there. I'm sure it's a little bit chillier than here, and I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you being on, and you're welcome anytime. I appreciate your time, Joe.
Thanks a lot, John. Sorry about the mix-up on the time zone, but we'll get that figured out.
I'll know better next time.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
a lot. Bye-bye.